Hey everybody, welcome. This is Marnie, and I'm here today with Kathy Bruins, the director of the Conference for Creatives. It's coming right up now in April in Michigan, and I'm excited to have Kathy here today to talk about how to host a hybrid conference. So, as you all know, Michigan is one of the most locked down states in the country. However, God has just put this in Kathy's heart to go forward and do this conference. And so we're going to be talking about how and why and how you can follow God's lead when he calls you to do something big and out of the box too, especially today if it relates to a conference for women or for whoever your audience is. So first we're going to talk about what a hybrid event is and why you need to consider one. The first strategy, or the number one strategy to survive and thrive through the planning, living, and follow-up stages, and the document you must have in hand to ensure your event meets your God-given goals. Some key factors in selecting a venue, the 2 words you will use over and over when finding, promoting, and supporting your guest presenters. Also, the secret to making your event welcoming, impactful, and remembered, why you must have a team and team meetings during the planning stages, and how to run them so that people will come. Also, the number one skill every conference planner must possess, and how to embrace it, and how to spice things up and communicate that early enough to increase attendance. Kathy Bruins is our guest today. She's the founder of the Conference for Creatives. She serves as president of Word Weavers, West Michigan, and is the author of 10 books. She speaks at venues including women's conferences, women's retreats, human trafficking events, and more. Learn more about her at seeyouatthewell.net, and also about her speaking availability at womenspeakers.com. Welcome to you, Kathy.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited about talking with you and talking with your audience, and hopefully getting to meet them soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little background. The Conference for Creatives is for anyone who would define themselves as a creative communicator, whether that's in speaking, writing, the arts, media. Maybe define that person a little bit better for me.
Yes, absolutely. The creative is a person who has a message to get out to the world. And they do it in their own unique way.
Creative way.
And like I am a writer and a speaker, but I can't draw stick people well. So I need someone else to draw my stick people. So that's kind of the idea behind the Well. Pull all the creatives together, because there are always needs that big projects of different creatives can work together on. That has happened so many times over my own life, working with different creatives. And it's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
One of the things that we enjoy about conferences always is that interaction. And I would say that creatives are among some of the most, like a lot of the work that a creative does is solo. You're not always in an environment where you're surrounded with people. Oftentimes the writer, the artist, the musician, the speaker is at home alone, or in an office or a studio alone, working for hours on end. And this is really a wonderful place for people to come out and connect, as is any conference. And we wanted to spend some time talking about the new hybrid conference or event format and why you need to consider one. So maybe first, before I let you give your input here, I want to just define what this is. So if you take 3 fingers and crisscross them together, a strand of 3. So you have your regular kind of traditional conference attendees who attend an on-premise, in-person, live, face-to-face, feel in the flesh type of engagement where you're all in the same building. And right now that is still very limited. Depending on your area, it's going to be limited to one degree or another. And some of you may not yet even be able to do that at all. But this is what it takes to do a hybrid. You have at least some people, whether it's even just your speakers, your worship team, and your planning committee, and then the number of attendees that are allowed in your area are live. This is then live streamed out into an audience of 2 other kinds of groups. So the first kind of group is a group that is alone in their home. They're at their computer screen. They're in a meetup room before and after the event with others like themselves, and then they watch the event together. Another type, then the third type, is a group who is meeting in a home. Again, they, instead of having meetup rooms before and after, or if you're on present, it's lobby time, chat time before and after, fellowship time. In homes, then you have a host and maybe her daughters or her mother and her sisters, or it's just people that are very close to you. You feel comfortable being with them. You've all been quarantining. And so you're together in a home with a limited number of people. And then you're just tuning in for the live stream of the main portion of the event or the program. So this is what a hybrid event is, and it allows us to move forward and start having events again for those who can participate in any of those 3 ways. Now, the Well is definitely a hybrid event. I know that you've got it set up so that people can come on premise as well as tune into whatever portions of the live main section that they want to get at.
Right. Yes. There will be live streaming on the general sessions, anything that's done in the big room. And the other parts will be taped and professionally edited. And then within 30 days, they will be available for those who either attended or paid for the live streaming registration. And that will be available for 30 days. And then after that 30 days, when you've been able to review things, if there's any part that really means something to you, you can purchase it and keep it.
Okay.
And we just think that is a great deal. We're really excited. This is the first time we're doing it. And I think it's going to be a huge success.
So when you have people buying tickets to come in person to the on-premise event, is it the same price to participate online, or is there some kind of a price difference? And you don't have to mention the prices here. Just how did you think that through?
There is a price difference. Live streaming is $150, and it will stay that price through the whole time. The price for the conference right now is $199.
Okay.
And we have expanded that because we just don't want money to hold back someone who wants to attend.
Yeah.
So I keep stretching it out.
Oh, because that's like an early bird pricing.
It's an early bird price, right?
Okay. Right. So
it costs this one. It will go up to $249.
Okay. So you have it set up that the attending on premise is a little bit more expensive than the attending online.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And you guys, that's just a call that you'll have to make as you go forward, whether your whole thing is free, whether you have parts of it free, parts of it, whatever. We've got the main launch of this hybrid training and the international launch of it coming April 10th, and that's going to be free. So, but it's only for 2 hours. It's a totally different level than we're talking about being at the Well and having, that much of a in-depth conference with all kinds of tracks going on and things like that. So when you think about whether you're doing a little one like we're coming up on April 10th, or a huge conference like you've got coming up April, I think
23 and 24.
23, 24. What is the first strategy to survive and thrive through the planning, live, and follow-up stages?
Okay, this is when we get to the Bible. I have my favorite verse, and this is what I live by. Okay, 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18.
I love those.
Rejoice always. Always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And that just fits me in my goals of how to live. So, and that just goes with how to survive this. there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And I just know that this is God's conference. Right. And he has a plan.
Right.
And it's going to work. It's going to work perfectly in his plan.
Right.
Because he gets all the glory. There are so many things that have already happened that I could have never done. And I know God's fingerprints are all over it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. And yes, we will survive. We've so many great things have happened already. So
I just love that. And knowing you and watching you, I just want to encourage you guys that if you're going into it thinking anything other than 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, you're in trouble, because it is a rocky road. It's not just a smooth sail. And, Kathy, last year, the whole conference blew up exactly before it was supposed to be.
Right.
Yes. And so, you've already had a whole year of this. And we actually don't know anything about the future, do we?
We really don't.
How could we?
We're going to do what we can.
Walking day by day.
Day by day.
But to walk rejoicing in all things with gratitude, and then just in prayer. What do I do now? That's how we survive it. So what is a document that you feel like somebody needs to have in hand in order to ensure that their event meets their God-given goals?
I think a mission statement is very important. It doesn't bring just me, but the whole leadership team. And beyond that, the faculty all know what the mission of the well is. And our mission is to help each attendee become equipped, networked, and refreshed. To help them take those steps necessary to fulfill the call that God has on their life.
Yeah, I love that. I love mission and vision statements because not only do they make it clear like a bullseye what I am going for, but they also just weed out all the stuff that you can get so preoccupied chasing and deciding and doing that have nothing to do with the direction that God wanted you to go.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, but like for me, when we bought our first business, everybody and their brother had ideas for us to do. They heard, oh, you're buying a restaurant. Well, I wish you would do. Here's an idea. Here's what my brother-in-law did, whatever. And it was just the idea that I thought I was going to go crazy, Kathy. I thought, what am I going to do with all these ideas? And God just showed me, what's your mission? What's your vision? If it doesn't match, you don't even have to think about it beyond saying, thank you. What a great idea.
Right.
You know,
take that under consideration.
Exactly. Moving on. But if it's a direct hit, then it gets to become a gift and you actually get to receive it as God intended it to be, not as another distraction, but as something that really builds into exactly where he's wanting you to go. So it changes it from pressure to clarity.
It really does.
Yeah. So let's talk venue for a few minutes. And of course, this is so crazy now. And I know the backstory. You had a venue.
Had is a key word.
That is the key word. The venue recently said, we're just not comfortable doing this. Yeah. So
and I understand that. With the COVID that's going on, they are struggling with it too. And so I totally get it.
Yeah.
But I didn't freak out. I had that peace of Christ, knowing that there is the perfect place for us. So anyone out there in internet land.
Yeah. Well, and you already had some other venues that were interested in hosting you. So it's not like there are no venues available.
Right.
There are. So when you're considering, let's just kind of talk through some of this. So right now, with COVID restrictions, that is the first thing you actually have to consider is how many participants can come on premise considering your COVID limitations. That's the number one thing. And then you also have to not only do that for the main room. So like for our April 10th one, we had to do that for our main sanctuary area, but we also had to do it for the fellowship hall because that's also part of it. Mm-hmm. And our solution for that in Florida here was to use our outside pavilion area. And we're going to do the initial refreshments and game part out there and then move into the sanctuary because then we can have equal numbers. Because otherwise our fellowship hall would have restricted us to only half as many as we can seat in our auditorium. So these are things you have to consider, not only the auditorium size, but also where are these people going to be in between times. What are a couple other things that you had in mind that you wanted to mention?
We'll have, the 6-foot distancing and sanitizer everywhere.
Yes.
And, the mask, we just want to be smart about it. And I've been at a couple of conferences already where they implemented those type of things. Mm-hmm. And there was no report of COVID at either of those. Right. And that's like 200 people.
Right.
So,
well, right.
I hope God blesses us the same way in that, but we are going to take all the precautions we can.
And I come from a background of owning a restaurant and owning a retail store, which we no longer do. We no longer have those, but I've been watching and I've just been really, I've thought if I still owned a restaurant in particular, I would take every precaution so that people could actually come and enjoy themselves at my restaurant. They wouldn't have to avoid it wondering, is that a safe place? Mm-hmm. And I think that this is key for you guys with a conference or a retreat of any kind for women. One of the key things you'll always want to keep in mind is that you don't want them to ever be worrying, concerned, afraid they'll get sick, afraid they'll be embarrassed. Any of these things for women are just game stoppers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They are. The fear stops us in our tracks every time.
It does. So location, of course, is very important. Like for yours, Kathy, you want it near the airport as close as possible. If you've just got your church group getting together, how much of a drive is it going to be to the location if you're having it somewhere else? And is that something that's going to be able to be feasible for your attendees? Those kind of things are important. And then, of course, food management is important also. Either they're going to have a reputation for doing good food safely, or you're going to have to cater in and there has to be locations available around, or people will go out and get food and make sure there's a lot of restaurants around. Any other things that are popping to your head right now, real quick, in the venue category?
Yes. It looks like we will be catering. So that will be good.
Yeah.
The venue, it needs to be spacious. It needs to be comfortable. I want people to feel welcome when they get there, and just technology. That's a huge part.
It is.
We need, the PowerPoint projectors and everything, and we'll get whatever is needed that they don't have.
Right. But if they could have those things, that's also a huge plus. Exactly.
It would be a bonus. Yes.
One thing that you mentioned that I want to just mention right now too is during COVID, most places at least cannot do the long line where you pick up your plate and walk in and do the buffet style. You have to have them pre-boxed or separate. Yes. And so just more considerations. But the reason that we're doing this and the reason that I want to encourage you to consider it is because we have to move forward pretty soon here. We can't just stay sitting around waiting for things to be perfect before we start moving forward with conferences and with events again. The people are lonely. We need to be together. God created us for this, and to the level that it's possible, I think we should take advantage of that and move forward. Mm-hmm. Kathy, you actually have 2 words that you use over and over when finding, promoting, and supporting your guest presenters. What are those 2 words?
Those 2 words are how to.
How to.
It's so important, and we have that. We've been so gifted with our faculty that they have so much to give. They are going to show attendees how to do so many things. And I don't know, I'm just so proud of them. I really am. I've been interacting with them one by one, but they have the vision.
Yeah.
And they understand that we are there to serve and to help, come alongside. The Well is not a once a year event. The conference part is, but we are working on relationships, and that will be all year long. We'll be in contact. We'll have opportunities, have online events, and hopefully in some time we'll have in-person events at small venues.
Yeah.
So.
Now, just for clarification, I've been talking about women's events a lot because that's my main ministry. But Kathy, the Well is for both men and women.
Yes, it is.
And approximately how many presenters will there be? Keynotes as well as workshops? Estimate. I know
there's 6 tracks and each has 9, so 54 workshops.
Yeah.
And I would say approximately probably 35, 40 faculty.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage. You're doing an amazing job. I was excited to pick your brain about this because I've been watching you and you're just doing amazing. A lot to do.
There's something left. I don't know.
Yeah, right. So what's the secret to making your event welcoming, impactful, and remembered? Just
starting out with the love for people. These are God's people. Making them feel at home, doing those little extra touches to make them feel welcome. There's always gifts and things like that. And we like to do surprises. But just to have an opportunity for them not to only have a relationship with us, but with one another. That's the networking part. Because as they do that, the community is just going to grow. And the saddest thing would be to have someone that's there all alone, sitting by themselves. No one's talking to them. We're going to have our radar on for that.
Yeah, I like you use the word family to describe how you want the event to feel. Like a family reunion, almost like you're coming in and okay, so maybe you just married into the family and you're new and you don't know anybody yet, but you're going to get to know everybody because everybody really wants to know you.
Right.
And I just love that picture. And that's how our events should be. It should not be, even though it is me and my friend coming to hang out together for this weekend thing. Yes. But at the same time, you have your separate times alone in your, suites or whatever to do that. You can, when you're together with the group, you can be for the group and you can be for each other. And I love that just as a practice to go forward. So team meetings, this is where a lot of planners really either A, overdo it or B, underdo it because it's tricky. I mean, the leadership team for the Well, which I'm part of, the leadership team for the Well has about 7 of us, I think, and to 8 of us, and to keep coming up with time to get everybody together is tough. But a couple things that you do so well, and then I want to have you tell us why you feel it's so important to have team meetings frequently in the planning stages. But a couple things you do so well is, first of all, you're very prompt. We don't get together and spend the first 20 minutes chit-chatting. When the meeting, it's time to start, we start the meeting. And then you're very organized. There's an agenda. I can know what's coming. and we know when it's going to end. It's going to be about pretty close to an hour. And when the hour is up, we're going to be done, and we can go our own ways and even schedule things around it. I think these are critical things to keep in mind when planning meetings, especially when you have volunteers. It's also important when you have paid staff. But paid staff are like, if you keep me longer, just pay me longer. But volunteers, you can really turn off volunteers very quickly if you don't honor their minutes.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Yeah.
I just love our meetings. Just seeing everyone's face and everyone getting excited, it helps me stay excited and get more excited. By the time the meeting's done, I'm like, ah. But yeah, everyone has a responsibility with the well. And just hearing what they're doing, what God is doing, just other things that have happened is incredible. And yes, they're human beings too. And we do have a little time that, what's going on in your life? Where do you need prayer? Because part of our leadership is the prayer chaplain. I kind of got messed up there because his name is Jim Chaplin, or Chaplin. See?
Chaplin. He's the chaplain. Jim Chaplin.
I never thought of that.
But there's always time. There's always time for prayer. That's a priority that you've set.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we have to be focused on whose ministry this is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gathered here, but we're inviting God here because this is His. And it's amazing how He works through all of us together. And I just love my team.
Another awesome thing to just build in, and Kathy, you've done this, of course, with the WOW, but to build into your agenda is just the update report from each of the team leaders, from each of the track leaders in this case, or whatever you divide your team into. The reason that's so beautiful is several things. First of all, everybody's going to get the hot spot. It's not like Kathy, you don't have to pick on somebody who's falling behind. Everyone is going to say how it's going in their area. And if they had things on the to-do list from the last month, this is the time where they catch us up. Is it done yet? It gives the director an opportunity to say, do you need more help? Like, are you going to be able to get this done, or do you need us to get you some more support, without calling somebody out and making them feel dumb or like a loser? And so I feel like, the meetings, the agendas, the very conscientious care of people's times and schedules. Like, you don't cancel a meeting unless it's really important. And you had one time when you did cancel, but it was because half the team canceled on you because of other things that came up. So, I think that those are really critical components of running a tight ship and having this thing actually come off well. What you sow is what you reap. If you are chaotic the whole time you're planning, you can expect a fairly chaotic event at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes calm.
Yeah.
You grab onto that peace and joy. And hang on tight. Yeah. But, no, it's always on my mind how to do things better, of what we have, and just trying to stay organized. I'm the best at it, but
right. So, what is the number one skill every conference planner must possess, and how to embrace it? Mm-hmm.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
It's so important because things will change. Usually you have the year before the next conference. That's a lot of time. A lot of things can happen in those 365 days. And you can almost expect something will happen. And it's just kind of, okay, this has happened. And the group comes together, and this is what we're going to do after prayer, and just feel where God is leading us in that. And it really works. It really works to to pray about things that have happened and not be upset with anyone. Like you said, don't call them out. It's just not worth it because those people are so important. And I believe everyone's doing the best that they can at that time.
Amen.
So, and there's nothing wrong with helping one another when needed. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, in these past months, several people on the team have lost family members to death. I mean, there's always going to be stuff happening. And I so agree with you that I truly believe that everyone's just doing the best they can in the moment. And so when we harshly judge them, we have to say, now, if I was going to put myself in one of my worst seasons of life, my worst moments, and somebody's going to come down on me hard because I couldn't quite do what I normally do. I think that's so important. Elizabeth Elliot defined flexibility as humility. And I love that definition because it actually is. It's saying, okay, I wanted it this way. I wanted it this way. That way. And now I just have to shift gears. I have to be a different way. And that takes flexibility. But most importantly, it takes humility to say, God, your will be done here, not my own.
Yeah.
And to let God flex you, because that's in the end. And that's really how we embrace it, as James 1, 2, and 3, they're counted all joy when you experience troubles or, just things that are difficult. And the reason is because God's actually bringing you something better than you would have had without the trouble. Mm-hmm. That's how we embrace it. And so we just say, yes, Lord, yes. Yeah. So final question, how do you spice things up and communicate the spice up stuff early enough so that you can increase attendance?
Okay. We are always talking about what we can do to draw interest and to actually kind of introduce the well to people because it's a different idea. Right. And so we've had contests. We had the 12 Days of Christmas. That was fun. And I'm thinking we have 2 more months to come up with things, and we will. And we always have great prizes. Sometimes a percentage off of the registration, sometimes the full registration off, maybe meeting times with one of the staff. I don't know, but we keep creating and we have a lot of fun. Victoria, my sidekick, is so good at that too. She's very creative and comes up with a lot of fun things.
Yeah, and I think this is something we haven't really addressed, but you want people with all the skill sets on your team. You want the highly organized people, as well as the fun, creative people, as well as the peacemakers, as well as everybody, administration. You want all of these things covered, and you want to. What we find is that when we're not careful, especially if it's a very highly organized group, you'll get rid of all the fun people. You'll squish them down to the point where they won't want to be on the committee. And it's really important that you keep them on the committee and keep them engaged. Yeah. Let them have airtime for their ideas as well, and not just all the serious stuff all the time, because God actually created these fun people to be fun. And there's a reason for that. It wasn't a mistake. He didn't kind of mess up on their design. It's how he wanted them. And it's just for our benefit and for the benefit of the attendees to let them have some space to really ideate and really run with those ideas.
Absolutely.
Kathy, this has been so fun. And I'm just so, I'm proud of you. I'm just delighted to be working with you on this, and just so excited to see what God's going to do. And it is, I know for you, it's not only a responsibility, but it's also, you're the first person to see the miracles that God's doing. So there's, when you're the leader, there's a balance here. It's the most stress, but it's also the best seat in the house.
It is. It really is. And life is never boring. And Marnie, like I've told you, I am so grateful to God that you are part of the leadership team. I mean, you add so much, and I just love you.
Oh, well, all right. Hugs. Okay. Well, you guys want to check out the Well, it's seeyouatthewell.net. seeyouatthewell.net. And you can find our bios there. Kathy's bio is definitely there. Also, womenspeakers.com is where she has her speaker profile. She's been a speaker with us for years, and you just want to check that out if you need a speaker for an upcoming event. And she's awesome for writers' workshops as well as many different things. Like mentioned earlier, she works with human trafficking and different things like that. I guess you're not a human trafficker. You work with survivors of human trafficking. Make sure we're clear about that. But just love what you do and love who you are. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
And thanks you guys for joining us. Always fun to have you along. I hope that you will give some serious prayer and consideration to launching your 2021 with a hybrid conference or event of some kind. If you want to join us on April 10th for the launch, you can learn more about that at marnie.com. And if you want to join us at the Well, of course, you are so welcome. Many of us will be flying in for that, and we're going to have a wonderful time. Or if you can't do that or aren't in a position to do it, be sure to check out the online version of that as well. So thanks. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye-bye.